Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we tear through the source material so you can get straight to the insights. Today, we're tackling one of the most fundamental challenges in any career. Not just achieving success, but sustaining it. Creating a legacy that actually lasts. We're trying to look past the usual metrics, the titles, awards, the projects you complete, to figure out what really anchors your influence over time.
And that's the real tension here, isn't it? So much of the, leadership literature focuses on how to start strong.
Right? All the tactics for growth and visibility.
Exactly. But the material for this deep dive poses a really critical question. What about finishing faithfully? Most leaders just don't think about it. So our mission today is to really grasp the core principles of what makes an impact endure, to shift our whole definition of success away from, temporary applause and more toward a generational view.
That feels so relevant. I mean, we're all conditioned to chase things we can count, right?
Yeah.
Boards chaired, revenue numbers,
Yeah.
big social media following. That's a great career, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's the worldly definition, but the thing is, it's inherently fragile. The source material argues that, true lasting leadership is way less about the awards you accumulate.
And more about what?
More about the lives you shape, the character you build. When we say generational perspective, we mean focusing on things that will still matter 50 years from now.
Okay, so this immediately brings up a really provocative question for you, the listener. Are you leading with a kind of clarity and integrity that could actually inspire generations? Or are you maybe just running on autopilot? And maybe leaving behind a legacy you never even intended? It sounds like we're shifting from strategic output to faithful stewardship.
Exactly, and that's what Section 1 is all about. Completely reframing success.
Okay, let's unpack that. If the world's view is all about visibility, platform, and climbing the ladder fast, what's the counterintuitive definition? What's success for enduring impact?
The final measure, according to this framework, isn't how high you climbed, it's who you built.
Who you built.
Yes. The entire race of leadership is judged by faithfulness and character, not by your speed or how many people know your name. It challenges you to see that the conventional finish line, the retirement party or the big buyout, it's just a mile marker. The real finish line is measured by what outlives you.
Wow. That is a stark contrast. It forces you to ask some tough questions.
Yeah.
Like, what will my leadership actually mean 50 years from now? Am I preparing successors, or am I just gathering followers who need me to be there?
And to do that, you need intentional self-assessment. And this is where the source material gets really practical. It doesn't just leave you with some, abstract philosophy. It gives you tools.
Yeah, let's get into those tools. The two that really stood out to me force you to almost reverse engineer your idea of success.
Right. First, there's the leadership eulogy. And this exercise, it forces you to step outside of right now and actually write down what you want people to say about your character and your work when you're gone.
And it's not about achievements then.
No, not at all. It's about your essence. It's not a mission statement about future plans. It's about your character right now. It asks, what hard decision did I make this week? The one that maybe cost me something in the short term that I'd want mentioned at my memorial. It just instantly clarifies those trade-offs we all make between comfort and character.
That's powerful. And the other one was the legacy scorecard. How does that help you avoid, that temptation to just chase visibility?
The scorecard uses a totally different weighting system. It's not counting money or titles. It's counting things like integrity, relational depth, how much you invest in other people. It asks you to track metrics like, how many hours did I spend empowering others this month?
Or was I truthful when it cost me something?
Precisely. The goal is to clarify your deepest values and then make sure every single daily decision lines up with them, even if nobody ever sees it.
The hard part, though, is that success often leads to comfort, and comfort can breed complacency. And that, I think, leads us right into the next section, where leadership drift begins.
That's the unsettling truth, isn't it? Finishing well is never an accident. It's always, always intentional. Leadership isn't judged by how brightly you shine at the start,
but how faithfully you endure to the end.
Exactly. The real danger for any established leader is in that long, comfortable middle stretch where, your vigilance just starts to fade.
And it doesn't start with some huge moral failure, does it? How does drift actually show up for a high-performing professional?
It's totally incremental. It's a slow fade. It starts when your clarity fades. You just stop revisiting why you started, and it really gets going when your internal life is neglected.
When you say internal life, you mean what? Just not taking time for reflection?
That's a huge part of it, neglecting solitude, reflection, confession, real rest. anything that keeps your identity rooted in something deeper than your performance. Because when that happens, you inevitably start rooting your self-worth in external things, your productivity, the applause you get, and that creates this really fragile identity that's always grasping for control.
And that leads to micromanagement, avoiding accountability, all those things.
Yep. And that's why the source material uses these ancient warnings, these case studies, to show how it works.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Give me an example.
Okay, take King Saul. He started out humble, he was capable, but his drift began with impatience, insecurity. He was supposed to wait for the prophet Samuel, but he just went ahead and did the sacrifice himself. He prioritized, tactical speed over obedience.
It was a small compromise, but it revealed a deeper shift.
It was a tiny fracture in the foundation.
Exactly.
Then you have King David. I mean, a man described as the greatest king, but his drift started in a moment of comfort.
Right. The story where he stays home from the battle.
He stays home when kings are supposed to be at war. That moment of, unearned rest led directly to his huge moral failure. It shows that drift can happen even when you're at the top of your game. The most successful leaders are often the most vulnerable because they think they've earned the right to let their guard down.
And what about King Solomon? He started with all the wisdom in the world.
And his legacy was diluted not by war or failure, but by prosperity, by pragmatism. His heart drifted because of comfort and political ambition. He made alliances through compromise, accumulated all this wealth, which was a direct violation of the rules for a king. Solomon's story is just a chilling reminder that inattention is dilution.
So it doesn't matter who you are. Inattention is the great equalizer.
It strikes everyone.
Okay, so if drift is basically inevitable without intentionality, how do you counter it? What are the practical steps?
And the first step is totally counterintuitive. Slow down. You cannot correct your direction when you're going at full speed. Rest isn't a luxury, it's wisdom. It creates the space you need.
And once you've slowed down, what's next?
You have to name the drift. You have to confess it. Be honest about where and why you've strayed to. A mentor, a spouse, an accountability partner. That act of confession it disarms its power. Secrecy is what lets drift grow.
And then it's about rebuilding those rhythms you neglected. Unhurried prayer, reflection, Sabbath, real community. The Source calls these things spiritual oxygen.
Absolutely. It's about replacing self-reliance with dependence on those anchors. That's what grounds your identity and character, not performance. And that's the foundation for any kind of renewal.
And that foundation leads us right into Section 3, which is the mandate of multiplication. This is where leadership stops being just a personal achievement and starts becoming a legacy.
This is the pivotal question, really. Will your influence end with you, or will it multiply? If leadership only advances your personal vision, it's fleeting. When you leave, the vision just dies. True legacy is measured in leaders developed, not crowds gathered.
And the source material really emphasizes this isn't just a smart business strategy. It's presented as a kind of generational requirement, thinking of Moses and Joshua or Paul and Timothy.
Yes, the contrast is so sharp. Effectiveness counts accomplishments, multiplication counts successors. And what's fascinating is the idea that the agenda has to be relational before it's organizational. To make your leadership echo, you have to invest in people before you invest in projects.
So why do so many leaders fight this? If the logic is so clear, exponential growth through others, what holds them back? Is it just a fear of being replaced? Control.
I think it's both. Leaders worry that if they train someone too well, they'll lose control. Or, even worse, they'll become irrelevant. Multiplication demands you give up control, which is it's against the grain for most ambitious people. But the Paul-Timothy model is the perfect illustration of its power.
Paul tells Timothy to entrust what he knows to reliable people who will then be qualified to teach others.
It's a generational chain reaction, and the principle is so profound. Your greatest legacy will always walk on two legs. Leaders who finish well get this. They know their impact grows through others, not by grabbing more power for themselves.
So your highest calling shifts from being the indispensable expert to being the intentional developer.
That's the goal.
Which brings us to integrity and endurance. These are the disciplines for actually sustaining that kind of influence.
It has to be the foundation. Leadership without integrity is like a house built on sand. It might look impressive for a while, but it is guaranteed to collapse. Your achievements will fade, but your integrity, or the lack of it, that's what people remember.
And it's more than just don't get caught.
Right.
The Source makes it sound much more active.
It's the daily alignment of your words and your actions. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's truth-telling on an expense report. It's protecting your boundaries. It's how you handle criticism. Real security in leadership isn't about your title. It's about being a person aligned with truth.
And endurance, then, is just cultivating that faithfulness over the long haul.
Right. And it's built through discipline, perspective, and a real dependence on something outside yourself. We can probably boil down the action points into 3 key things.
Okay, what are they?
First, clarify your eternal definition of success. Use those tools, the eulogy and the scorecard. Let that become your North Star for everything. Shift from activity to assignment. This is huge. You have to realize that not every opportunity is your responsibility. You have to learn to say no to good things so you can say yes to the essential ones.
And finally, practice long obedience in the same direction. Committing to the hidden, faithful work that no one applauds, but that, heaven sees. It's the hidden stuff that builds the inner scaffolding.
And we see this tested so dramatically with a figure like Joseph. His journey, betrayal, prison, just years of waiting. He demonstrates this unwavering faithfulness through all of it. His character didn't change when his circumstances did.
And that's the final lesson in endurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trials are going to come, but how you navigate them is what determines your legacy. Adversity is often the training ground.
It hardens the gold. The goal is to move from frantic busyness, which is driven by anxiety, to true, faithful stewardship driven by purpose. That shift is everything.
So what does this all mean? We started by saying leadership is a marathon, not a sprint.
And it's a marathon defined by character, multiplication, and faithfulness, not by temporary applause. The invitation here is really profound. You get to trade the fleeting success of the world for genuine, eternal impact, to live for your generational values instead of just for the moment.
That brings up a final provocative thought from the source. It uses this really pertinent analogy that our work can be like building with wood, hay, and straw, which will burn up, or with gold, silver, and precious stones, which endure.
That analogy is all about the durability of your work. It's determined by the motive and faithfulness behind it, not just its size or visibility.
So here's the thought for you to take away. If you were to conduct an immediate fire audit of your commitments right now, the daily things demanding most of your time and energy, which ones do you suspect might be the hay and straw? The things that offer temporary visibility but have very little eternal return? And what small daily act of integrity or mentorship done in hidden faithfulness would you nominate as your gold? That's the focus you need to carry forward.